The Biden administration temporarily pausing and now pending decisions on the export of liquefied natural gas. New export facilities that do not yet have a permit from the Energy Department will now be on hold during the pause. Officials will evaluate the impacts of LNG exports on energy costs, energy security, and the environment. This new move does not affect current exports or previously permitted facilities that have begun construction. Joining us right now is Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm. Good morning to you.
And that harkens back to President Biden's campaign vow to put the fossil fuel business out of business. And he said that, he said, read my lips, we will put fossil fuels out of business.
I did not hear him say that. I think the president recognizes.
Just look at YouTube.
But kiddo, I want you to just take a look, okay? You don't have to agree. But I want you to look in my eyes. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate.
I'll do that. There to be a managed transition, that fossil fuels are not going away in the immediate. That is why the focus that the U.S. has been such a leader in making sure that.
How long do you think, Madam Secretary? Do you think, I mean, just give me an outside, do you think it's 50 years or do you think it's 5 years? Because if you're pausing now, it assumes that we're going to be able to transition in like 5 or 10 years. There are people that say it's going to be at least 50 years for the global economy to be able to operate. It can't operate without fossil fuels. You can't get fossil fuels without infrastructure.
We are working every day at the Department of Energy to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Well, like what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping new pipeline infrastructure and creating the incentives to transition?
Well, there's overwhelming incentives. Senator Sanders and others are proposing Medicare for All plan. That's going to cost the Trumpers are here, I guess. I don't know. Well, thank you. Guys, I'm happy to. We are going to get rid of fossil fuels.
Would he close down the oil industry? Would you close down the oil industry?
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement. No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. We could pass national legislation, but I don't think we'd get it done in terms of getting the votes to get it done, to say all fracking that's going on now ends unless you can show there's some physical security need or worried about explosions, et cetera, which is a legitimate thing to worry about. But I would not allow any more. No more drilling. There is no more drilling. But we need to do something else. We need to get off this roller coaster of relying on oil. No one's going to build another coal plant in America because of the work we did.
I know the president once said that he was going to end fossil fuel. Is that now off the table?
No, we are going to continue to move forward with our clean energy proposal, our climate change proposal.
In 2016, you stated the U.S. should, quote, do everything we possibly can to keep fossil fuel energy in the ground. Do you stand by those remarks or want to comment related to that?
Yeah. I think it is important that as we develop fossil fuels, that we also develop the technology to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
We've been talking about this all morning and trying to understand the rationale behind it. A lot of folks looking at this and saying that, you know, exporting LNG has been a great thing for the United States.
Yeah, I mean, we are the world's largest exporter now of LNG, but we have a responsibility at the Department of Energy to ensure that all the authorizations are in the public interest according to the Natural Gas Act. And in order to fulfill that responsibility, since the sort of boom, shale boom and the exports of LNG have begun, we have undertaken a periodic assessment of what the lay of the land is. The last assessment, though, was done in 2018, and at that time, we were only exporting 4 billion cubic feet of natural gas, which is a fraction of what we're doing now. Today we're exporting 14 billion cubic feet. We have another 12 billion cubic feet that are under construction, and a total of 48 billion cubic feet that have been authorized. So none of that is going to be affected. All the stuff that's under construction that's been authorized, none of that is going away. Certainly the stuff that's being currently exported, there's no There's no impact. But it is, we have a responsibility given how much we have authorized and given the lay of the land across the globe, the climate impacts, as well as the question about what's the cost going to be at home. If we're exporting half of what we produce, what is the price impact for those who use?
Well, let's talk about that. So I think there's a question, Mark. Is this about the climate? Is this, some people would say, is it about politics? Is this about price? Meaning, do you actually think that by doing this, you're going to lower the price back here in the United States? You see the various issues here at play?
And there are various issues. And there are several factors that we have taken into account on these assessments, and we just need to update the data associated with the factors. So the factors are, what is the impact on national security? What is the impact on foreign policy? What is the impact, in other words, our allies and whether they're able to access the energy that they need? What is the impact on the price at home? What is the impact on the climate? And so what we need
But that can't be done without stopping, without pausing? I mean, I think that's the other question, because some people look at LNG specifically and they say, look, this is a cleaner form of energy. In fact, when it's exported, oftentimes it is replacing energy that might be produced by coal, which is a lot dirtier.
Yeah, it's a good question, and that's one of the things we have to evaluate. This is a temporary pause for the purpose of doing an assessment, which will be done in leadership by our national labs. This is not an indefinite pause. It will last some months. There will be a comment period, et cetera.
Madam Secretary, it will last till November 5th? That's what people are saying, Madam Secretary. You know that the young voters are the climate is front and center, and the cynics of this on the other side would say this is pure politicking, that President Biden needs young voters, and you can see the comments from the climate lobby. This is like, they're celebrating and toasting the Biden administration for this pause, and it looks you don't need, really, if you're cynical, you don't need to look beyond that. It's just politicking.
I understand the cynics are going to say what the cynics are going to say, but we are following the law. And under the Natural Gas Act, the Department of Energy is required to assess what is in the public interest. Right. We need to update our assessments. And that's
Secretary, I don't disagree with the idea of trying to reassess, every couple of years where things are. I think there's a question mark, really more about the can you walk and chew gum at the same time idea, which is to say, what prevents the department from doing that assessment without a pause while the assessment is going on?
Well, there are 13 projects in the queue between the Department of Energy and FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Those projects account for another 12 billion cubic feet. We need to assess, as we assess, we want to make sure that we are applying the same sort of standard to those that are in the queue, to those that will be coming up into the future. But as I say, the pause would make no difference whatsoever, because none of the projects would be exporting natural gas. None of the projects that are in the queue would be exporting natural gas, because they'd have to be constructed. That would take years and years. Nothing will change in terms of what is currently being exported or what is currently under construction. This is just a pause so that we can have an assessment that is rationally based and then apply that assessment to those projects that are in the queue.
How does this work?